What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and many tickers out there. I want to talk about what data just came out this morning, how it's affecting the markets, and what news is affecting Tesla as well at the time I'm recording this. But before I break anything down and talk about the technicals on Tesla and what's going on with the markets, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. And finally, don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks with a $50 cash reward. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, guys, looking at Tesla, we're actually seeing the market making an attempt to bounce so far. But the real question is, could the market try to continue to break out, or is the market going to get a rejection at resistance? And we're going to have to watch and see if that ends up being the case, as we're seeing some heavy resistance approaching for Tesla and many stocks out there. Now, don't forget, guys, that we actually had initial jobless claims this morning, and this was as expected. The forecast was around 241,000. We actually got 239,000, very, very close. So the market has been responding quite positively to this. And besides that, the jobs numbers are looking quite decent, very, very close to expectations, which is a decent sign for the market. That is typically what the market wants, and that's what we're getting so far. Now, to add on to this, there was all this news coming out about how the market has been moving. We're going to be watching to see after what the Fed just announced, does the market start pricing in another rate hike for September? Or is the market kind of just like chill from here after everything that just happened? We're going to find out very, very soon. How the market responds to all of this, if the market could maintain these levels or if the market ends up getting another rejection. We're going to find out very, very soon. Now, to add on to this, don't forget that we had Walmart's earnings and a couple of others this morning, and things were actually quite good for them. Walmart actually raised their full year forecast, which is quite good for them, and their earnings were quite decent. That's a good sign for them and very, very different from that of Target, which actually lowered their full year forecast. So it's very interesting to witness. Very good stuff from Walmart. Once again, the Fed minutes came out. The initial drop from the market was kind of like the first reaction, but there's always the possibility that it could be a trap where they kind of like got a lot of retail investors to buy puts, and now they're trying to pump the markets, but not a guarantee. There's also a chance the market could just continue to sink. So you want to be open-minded when you have like big moves like this when it comes to trying to figure out what the real move is. And that's why we just want to watch the market on a level basis and see what is more likely to end up playing out, because we want to be as unbiased as possible. This has been a relatively rocky month, seeing the Nasdaq Composite and the S&P 500 drop quite a bit. So it's going to be very fun to watch, at least for the remainder of the month. Very, very tricky price action too. Looking at some data, Texas officially forces Tesla's NACS on charging stations to get access to over $400 million in subsidies. This is bullish news for Tesla, good news for them, helping Tesla get more of these subsidies, which is going to help to continue their growth and help them to maintain more and more resilience in places like Texas and other parts of North America. So good news for Tesla so far. I haven't seen anything else that's too crazy in the news as of right now at the time I'm recording this, and so far Tesla's holding up quite decently. So now I'm going to switch over to the charts and break down some important stuff. So how would you describe this formation? Well, one thing that's worth noting is that Tesla's been on this channel for the last like 4 days, hitting this resistance and this support right about here. And in doing so, right, you could see that Tesla's attempting to bounce right now. It's trying to curl up with the market. The whole market's trying to bounce a little bit, but we're going to be watching this resistance right here. Tesla's currently at 227. If this breaks, if it gets above 227, you're going to be watching for a push to about 228.6. That's going to be one tight level. Break that, then we have 230 coming, 233, then 235, all as resistance levels. Okay, so could Tesla try to break out? Well, the first thing is we have to test 230. It's going to be a very important test because we have this resistance, right? We have, first off, the previous support becoming resistance. Then we also have this trend line, which is going to be acting as resistance. So we have double resistance right over there at 230. Can Tesla break that? If it does, then there is more potential for 233 than 235. Now, could the market like pump and reject? There's a possibility of that as well, right? Because when you look at the market, there's no guarantee that we're going to continue to see major upside, as the overall trend is more bearish. The bigger picture is more bearish for the market so far. But here's the thing, there could be an attempt of the market trying to like rebound a little bit. So we're going to be watching this resistance. Can Tesla break this or not? If we see like a trend reversal, that could just be because of the fact that the market is trying to like rebound a little bit after getting a very, very bearish reaction to the Fed, the FOMC minutes yesterday. Sometimes that happens. So we're going to be watching these levels just to be safe. If Tesla like hits 230, you're going to be watching to see, do we reject off this and see Tesla kind of like sink down all the way back down to these lower levels? Does Tesla like pop like this and then reject, or does Tesla make an attempt to try to break above this and push up a little bit more? So just watch that very, very carefully. It basically is like a move like this. Does Tesla, break this resistance, or does it end up like rejecting and coming down a lot lower? That's one possibility. Or does Tesla just, try to continue going and actually breaks this resistance and just tries to like chop around here, comes down like this and does something like this? This could be another possibility for it. A close like kind of like this. We're going to be watching which one is more likely and what ends up playing out. So far, I am pretty confident it's going to try to at least push up a little bit more. For SPY in particular, this is also looking quite interesting. SPY is also getting very close to its resistance trend line right about here. So when you zoom out of the charts, we have this resistance, this new trend line, which is acting as resistance. This is currently at 441.5-ish or very close to that. And we're going to be watching, can SPY break this? If it breaks above this, it's going to test 442. If 442 breaks, you're going to be watching 443.15-ish, like very close to that, very low 443s. And if that breaks, we have 444 being the next potential target, and that's going to be some strong resistance if we could actually break above these levels. So watch this on a level basis. Let's see if we could break this resistance or not. Now, and that's going to be the real question. Do we end up like breaking this, or do we just reject and come right back down to lower levels? We're going to be watching the test just to be careful. So this resistance right here, 441.5, could we get like a false break like this to 442 and then reject and come down just like this? 440 is going to be important support. If that breaks and we actually end up going below it, that's going to be a bearish signal, because then we have the potential to sink all the way down to like 438. But like I said before, guys, you want to watch this test right here. Does this end up breaking or not? Because there's also a possibility that, it just keeps going. They might just keep pushing this up to screw over the people that bought puts yesterday. They might just continue to push this up to like 444 or so, then reject from there, and then have it just range bound kind of like this and close the day still kind of like green. So it's got to be one of these two. You're going to be watching the test. Do we reject off this resistance or not? You have to watch this in real time to find out. And once again, there could be lots of trickery because we're seeing a reaction after the FOMC minutes. For the triple Q, it's basically the same thing as SPY. We have this resistance approaching. So right about here, hold on, right here, we have this resistance approaching on it. It's currently at 364. There's some resistance there, but we're going to be watching, can we break this resistance and test our 50 EMA and get a little bit above it and get to about 365 or so? Do we reject off 365 and come back down into this like demand area to fill this gap down to like 362? This is one like more bearish case. That is a possibility if we do get the rejection. But if the market does not reject and they actually let the market pump a bit because of the exaggerated drop, then we're going to be watching this test at 365. That's going to be your key level. Do we break this, come down, and then just start like pushing to like back up to these like high levels, right? Back to our 200 EMA test. We're going to be watching these levels very, very carefully. So watch 365 on the triple Q. Do we break this, or do we end up getting a rejection off of it? If it rejects, there is potential for it to come back down to like 363.5 and maybe even fill this gap down here at 362. If it keeps going, if it tries to keep going, if it breaks 365, there is potential for it to go all the way up to 367.5 and potentially even 368. We're going to be watching the test just to be safe. One thing that's also very interesting is watching Nvidia. You will notice that we actually have a potential flag forming on it, so it's very interesting looking. This is what the flag is looking like on Nvidia. We're going to be watching this 442 level because first off, we have some resistance right here historically. And then we also have this overall channel. It's kind of like stuck in. We're going to be watching if this ends up becoming a nice flag for it to break out of. But for now, we're going to be watching 442. It could actually break a little bit above this because there have been some instances where it broke above this just like temporarily before coming back. So we're going to be watching, does Nvidia break out of this, hit 447 or so? If it breaks that 452 is on the table, does it try to like break out? Does it like hit this resistance and then reject and come right back into the trend line and then continue to like trade sideways around here. We're going to be watching to see which one happens. Do we see something like this where it tests 442? We're going to see if this could break or not. I think it might break a little bit above this, like this, but does it break right back down and just start like shopping like this before we get any sort of breakout like next week or something with earnings? Is that what's going to happen to Nvidia before the breakout? Or, or is it going to do something like this where it already starts to break out and tries to make its way up to 447, kind of like rejects here, gets a back test and starts pushing back up to like 452? The best way to do this is watch the chart in real time and see how it reacts to resistance. Do we get the breakout now, or does this thing continue to kind of like chop a bit before the breakout happens? What is more likely to happen? Honestly, guys, it really depends on how he reacts to resistance. So we're going to be watching these levels very, very carefully. Now, to add on to this, I'm going to switch over to Webull for just a couple of other things. Let me just mention that Aapl is just barely holding up. If it breaks 177, there's potential for 178. Uh, you're going to be watching to see if it rejects or not at 178.5. It could push up. It's going to likely push up to 177 at the very least and potentially 178. But the question is, does it reject or not? If we get a big rejection off either 177 or 178, we could see the market sink, or does it try to hold above at these levels? So watch that all very carefully. Just know that the VIX is actually kind of red as of right now. It kind of rejected off resistance. So we're going to be seeing if it could try to break 17 or not. If it rejects off this, then it could start sinking. It is starting to form. This could be a bearish divergence on it, so it might actually start sinking. But just to be safe, we have to watch to see if that happens. The SQQ is kind of down. The dollar is actually down as well, which is a bullish signal. If the dollar breaks below the 200 EMA, this is going to be a bullish signal. If it bounces off this, this could lead to the market getting a rejection. So I'm going to be watching DXY. The 10-year Treasury yield is a little bit up, but overall, it's not looking that extremely strong. It's still trying to just barely hold up thanks to the Fed, not really having a very profound impact on the markets so far. So we're going to be watching our levels. Once again, for Tesla, don't forget to watch resistance to see if Tesla could break above the current resistance levels. And then we're going to be watching to see how Tesla ends up responding to all of them. So once again, this is Tesla. This is a very important test I'm talking about. We're going to be watching this resistance level. Can Tesla break these resistance levels, or does Tesla end up getting the rejection? We'll just have to find out at this point. Watch this 230 area. It's going to be our very, very key resistance. If Tesla could break this, there is potential for it to push out. If it fails to break 230 and starts rejecting, then you're going to be watching this channel, and Tesla could start sneaking to 225 again, or even like down to 221. It all depends on how we react to 230 or very close to that area. So please watch it and do what you have to do, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla in the market to the moon as the long term is still incredibly bright, and peace out.